Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we are delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. Well, we would love to hear from you, so send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@EWTN.com. Now, on Wednesday, we brought to you Charley and Diane Monaghan, and they are founders of a beautiful ministry called Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents. You could go to their great website. It's emfgp.org. And so Diane and Charley were sharing about, it's like it's a group you never want to join. It's like we've had friends who are widows, and the other widows would say that we never wanted you to join this group. And but it's there, and it's there because it's a healing, helping ministry that gets us all through the dark nights of our souls. And they have certainly ministered to many, many couples who have joined this group and are getting help.
Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents, emfgp.org. They have a twofold mission to accompany grieving moms and dads who've lost a child, to be together, to make space for love, for the Holy Spirit to move and to give hope. And the other part of their calling is to those parents that have been touched in this way, please bring this back to your parish. Bring it back to your diocese.
Right.
Speak with your bishop or speak with your priest and say, this is the pain I've been in. This is the isolation I feel. And I went to Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents. It's really helping my life.
Right.
Life has not ended for me. It's changed. My relationship with my child has not ended. I understand that it's changed. I have hope now. And to spread this all over the country and maybe different parts of the world. Just a quote from some of the people that benefited. This was a godsend, speaking about being involved with their retreats. This was a godsend to us. We've been so isolated in our grief and have not had any help with the spirituality of grieving. We're so grateful for the ministry. You hear that again and again in testimony. Isolation, alone, like Diane, who went to psychiatrists or psychologists and different groups, which is fine.
Or even other grieving groups.
But when she got in touch with the spirituality, and she said that she went, and I guess it was a sister, maybe a nun, for some spiritual guidance, and the sister simply said to her, well, what's been going on in your life or something like that? She said, I just fell apart. Really, she didn't fall apart. She was grieving, and she was getting healed. It's the spiritual presence. And that which you knew in your head now goes down into your heart, and you say, yeah, I still have a relationship with my son, with my daughter. I have the hope of everlasting life. My hope is to see them face to face once again. Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we had a friend whose son was tragically killed in a car accident. And when we first met this couple, one of the, and her name, I won't say her name, but she was telling us about her son. And it had happened a couple of years ago. But she was making it was so fresh. It was like it was yesterday. And because we were new friends in her life, she wanted to bring us, she wanted to introduce us to her son, and there wasn't a grieving group for her, and so she left the church because we isolate, right? And then the marriages suffer. I think Charley said 85% of the marriage who suffer the loss of a child end in divorce. We don't want that for you. No. You've had enough misery and sorrow and suffering. You need to get in touch with this wonderful group, Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents, so that you don't fall to another statistic where you're alone, you're separated, you have no place where you can walk and have someone bear their heart with you.
And it may be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and maybe you did have a divorce or whatever took place. It's never too long not to get involved with Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents.
Yes.
And find people that can understand and make space for the Spirit to move. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and our guests today are Charley and Diane Monaghan, who are founders of Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents. Go to their website, it's emfgp.org. Well, we so enjoyed sharing with the both of you on Wednesday, but I want you to tell our family at home how the Emmaus Ministry is being the new evangelization in the Catholic Church right now.
Well, we tend to call it that because what we've been finding with great frequency at our retreats is we have typically about 30 to 40% of the participants tell us that the Emmaus Ministry is the first Catholic endeavor that they have been to in years, that they haven't been to a Mass in, you name it, years, that they've left the church. And then we have quite a component of people who come and tell us that they are not Catholic. Is permissible for them to come to a retreat? And we tell them certainly it is. But they come and tell us that they cannot find anything of a spiritual nature in the church that they've been going to, and then they want to know more about the Catholic Church. So, we do not force feed the faith. As I said in our earlier program, we are very Catholic in what we do, but really what the retreats are geared to do is just permit the parent to spend time open to the prompting of the Holy Spirit in their child.
That's beautiful. Losing a child isn't Protestant or Catholic or even atheistic or secular. It's losing a child is losing a child. And if people know the tenets of what you're about and what you're doing and say, well, I just want to be in the presence of this. It's the same thing with Catholic education, right? You have every kind of background in person, believers and non-believers, and say, hey, this is what we have to offer. So that's beautiful. And the new evangelization for those who are believers who've been away from the church for so long. And if they could come back to the church in the context of something that is horrific and somehow meet the Lord, well, they'll be set for the rest of their lives if they could somehow find a degree of hope and peace and relationship in the midst of this kind of loss. That should go a very long way. So it really is a part of the new evangelization. Very well said.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, why don't you two tell our family exactly what happens on a retreat?
Well, we start out each retreat by just going over a few guidelines, explaining that it's definitely not a support group. We end up supporting each other, but we are there to focus on the spirituality of the grieving process. We don't go around the room. We don't force people to tell they know each other's names, but tell their stories, because many people aren't ready for that or are not there to share. So we make that clear in the very beginning.
We've had people tell us that if they were forced to talk about their child, they wouldn't be able to face it. They'd run screaming out of the room.
So we explain that we will have various sessions throughout the day, but no one is forced to do anything. We always have a sacred space where we have memorial candles for the children, hopefully with the Blessed Sacrament. And we say, if you would like to spend the entire day in the chapel with your child's candle or walking the grounds, this day is for you. What we tell parents is that when you come to a retreat, what you're really doing is giving yourself the gift of getting away from everyday life and focusing on your child, focusing on the fact that your child is still very much alive and well. And it's a great opportunity for parents to do that. So it's very important that we start out that way.
Yes, beautiful. And I think, content is important in any gathering, yet you say that pretty much it's providing a space and that people begin to share, or the compassionate people there begin to share, and it makes space for the Holy Spirit to move. And so some conversation or sharing does take place, but also, sacramental, so to speak. Those candles, and remember, seeing, smelling, participating in confession. Or do you have the Holy Eucharist at these times, or adoration?
Well,
for those that can't participate?
Obviously,
we have the Mass.
Okay.
We certainly hope on our day retreats and our weekend retreats that we will have a priest potentially available, although, as you know, that's kind of difficult these days. But if we can have a priest, we'd love to have one. We create a sacred space in the parish we typically have an opening reflection that could be given by the priest, it could be given by a deacon, a nun. Occasionally, we've had a parent give it, where we,
Pastoral
just talk about the Catholic view of death and suffering. And from there, we break into what we call a parent witnessing, where we might have a parent telling us where they are in their spiritual journey. That's typically a parent who has been to a previous retreat. We have large group and small group sessions where we break into mothers and fathers, but it's not highly directed. And what we find is the parents really, they feel so safe knowing that everybody there knows exactly how they're feeling.
Yeah. Right.
And having the opportunity to sit around and have coffee and look across the table and, break down and not feel ashamed of breaking down in front of someone else, talking about your kid over meals.
Yeah.
We've had parents tell us, I can't even do that with my family anymore.
Right.
It's a taboo subject. So all of that seems to assist the Holy Spirit in working and bringing peace in the day. In the parish environment, typically we'll go to the vigil mass, and then we have a closing ceremony where candles are extinguished and the day ends at about 7 o'clock. So.
Well, that is so beautiful, and I can only imagine, it's that kindred spirit of that you're still standing, I'm still standing, and we both have suffered the greatest loss known to humanity, right? And so that when you look and you behold another human being, be it another man or another woman, and that's your common denominator is your grief and your sorrow. How has the COVID pandemic affected your ministry and your gatherings?
Well, we can talk about this. We've been, for many years now, have been working with dioceses, and we've had a number of dioceses who have learned of what we're doing and asked us if we would come and assist them in starting the ministry. So just prior to COVID, we were traveling all over the country. We did a retreat in Los Angeles, California, then Amarillo, Texas, and then we were scheduled to do a retreat for the first one for the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. We did it on March 14th, got on the plane March 15th, and the world changed on March 17th.
That's right.
And so Diane and I had 9 retreats scheduled for the remainder of the year, all of which have been canceled. But we originally thought, well, this will be over in 5 or 6 weeks. So we did what we called midweek gatherings, where we invited parents to come and share for an hour. That worked very well, but things haven't changed, so we had to figure out a new normal.
Yeah.
I'm not a technical person, but I've somewhat figured out Zoom.
There you go.
And we've now scheduled our first virtual retreats. They'll be online. One is in September, October, November, and for the foreseeable future, we assume we'll be doing the mini virtual retreats of about 4 hours.
Yeah.
In addition, we also have low-tech retreats. We're calling them our half-hour remote retreats, where I develop a reflection, readings and reflections from spiritual leaders that I find online, focused on a certain topic each week. And these are available by email. And what happens is that every single Saturday morning at 9:30, we try to gather virtually together Eastern time and pray the retreat together. And that has been going on since the first retreat that we had to cancel was March 28th. And that was the date of the first remote retreat, Saturday mornings. And we continue to do them weekly.
Bless your hearts. How have you found, what are the stats you think of people who reach out to your ministry? Are they 5 years out of the loss of their child? Are they 10 years out of the loss of their child? Or within 1 year?
It certainly runs the gamut. When Diane and I first started this, we thought we were in control and we would set the parameters. And we were going to say, unless a person has experienced the death of a child for at least a year, they shouldn't come to a retreat. The Holy Spirit certainly made it obvious to us that he's in charge and he'll bring the people that he wants when he wants them. And so we have found people as fresh as 1 month.
Wow.
And we've had people, 40 years. If the Holy Spirit calls, then they should come. What we have found is well-meaning people who tell people, you really got to go to one of these. And reluctantly, they come. Well, if their heart is not open, the Holy Spirit can't touch it.
Right.
Tell us about your website. I know that I looked you up and put it in some, some searches for you all, and I saw a couple of short videos, plus you'll have this video. Do you have any videos on your website for people to see? Because sometimes a short video, I'm thinking about how do I say to somebody who's lost a child, you might want to look into this, this is good for you, without feeling like I'm overstepping my bounds. Sometimes a short video is helpful. Tell us.
A great resource on our website is under programs, there's a section that's called What Happens at Retreats. And this came about years and years ago when parents kept telling us they really want to come, but for some reason they were not able to. So how could they join us vicariously? Yeah. So what I started to do years ago is not after every single retreat, but after many retreats, I write what we call highlights. And it summarizes what the spiritual director said, some of the insights of parents during the retreat. So if someone wants an idea of what actually happens at retreats, that would be a good place to go.
Good.
We also have on our website videos from various reflections from the past spiritual leaders have given. And we also have a YouTube channel containing those videos.
Great.
Yes, there are quite a number of reflections out there that parents would find, I think, of great comfort.
We started videotaping reflections.
Good.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's interesting. We had, I think it was a couple that was on, and they were sharing about reaching homeschool children with special needs and disabilities and so on, and especially now where so many children aren't going into the school or getting the services that they need. And they actually said that in a number of ways it was a plus to be doing things through Zoom and electronically, and that some of the children with these special needs, they were nearby with their parents, felt even more comfortable in that setting. I mean, you always want to be together, but, and I think some of that might be true for some of the couples or a mom or a dad that's lost a child, especially who's trying to enter into this, to say, you know what, we're not meeting together, but we're doing this electronically. I think you'll find a lot of interest. I think they might even feel safer in their own home to take the first steps and say, okay, well, I'll hear what you have to say. I feel comfortable here. So I hope that this will just continue to build and build and build, for you all. Where are you all having your retreats now throughout the country?
Well, we actually have cooperated with 10 dioceses and more to come.
Yes.
They range from Los Angeles to Florida to Wheeling or West Virginia. Let's see, we're in the Archdiocese of Newark, the Archdiocese of New York, the Archdiocese of Boston, Diocese of Richmond. I could go on and on.
And these are all listed on the
people
website.
They're listed on our website, yes, and we are open to other dioceses that would want to know how to bring this ministry to their people. I'm sure anyone who may have that thought is probably thinking, well, I can't afford to do this. Well, the Holy Spirit has made it possible for us that we don't charge. Diane and I don't charge for anything that we do. And when we have parents who say, gee, this resonates with me, I'd like to be involved. As we talked about in our previous show, we're really looking to expand the number of parents who can companion other parents. To make it possible for them to do so, we've actually written and published a guidebook. That guidebook tells people everything that we do, right down to how to register people through prayer services. And it's also been translated into Spanish because our retreats are now they were being given in Spanish in New York and Boston, and Amarillo, Texas was going to do it in Spanish. So we hope to be able to grow the Hispanic ministry as well.
Excellent.
Well, Charlie and Diane, thank you so very much for being with us. God does bring good from evil and life from death and blessing from what seems to be a curse. But he brings life, and God has certainly used you and the memory of your son, your only son, Paul, in all of this. And may the best be yet to come for many, many people to rekindle faith once again and to have the hope of everlasting life. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to emfgp.org, Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents, emfgp.org. Be involved in a group, start a group in your parish, in your diocese. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and we just finished our beautiful discussion with Diane and Charley Monaghan, and we encourage you to go to their ministry. Also, EWTNRC.com has so many resources for you on grief, which were out, they posted them up, which were beautiful. And
Yes.
so you do not have to suffer alone. And if you're hurting, it's good to read, to pray, to maybe mention something to your pastor at your church and find out that things have changed in my life and in my heart, and I need help. I need help because I can't make it. And so that's the beauty of a company with this beautiful ministry.
Emmaus Ministry for Grieving Parents, emfgp.org. If you've lost a child, you want to know more about this ministry, you know someone who's lost a child, go to emfgp.org. Well, we want to mention that the time of day for our shows has changed effective September 7th. And so I think we'll be on at 1:30 now instead of Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 1:30 Eastern time. So check it out on EWTN.com for local times in your area. It's not really that big of a change. But
It's not
Monday,
that big of a
Wednesday,
change.
Thursday instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, instead of 1 o'clock, 1:30. And so we hope we'll be with you and that you will be still remaining with us. How great is the gospel of Jesus Christ? How great is Christ's victory over death and over the grave? That death does not have that final word. Oh, death, where is thy victory?
And nobody knew our sorrows more than our Blessed Mother. So run to her, pray to her, unite your heart with all of her 7 sorrows and all of your sufferings.
Come to me, all ye who travail, you heavy laden, I'll refresh you. Take my yoke upon your neck. Learn from me. I'm gentle. I'm lowly of heart. You will find rest for your soul. Come to Jesus. Come to the church. Come to the sacraments. Come home to Christ and to the church. You're an important part of this EWTN family. You're never alone. You're never isolated. And you're always at home with Jim and with Joy. Keep it on EWTN. God bless you and all of your loved ones. Bye now.